Good evening, and welcome to the third night of the Democratic National Convention.
That's 2 more nights than we needed.
Last night, we nominated our candidate for President of the United States, Joe Biden. We also reaffirmed our values as a party.
What values?
A party of resilience and hope.
If by resilience you mean cowardice and capitulation.
Empathy and inclusion.
If by inclusion you mean countering racism with more racism.
This is the party that fired me up as a young man in the 60s.
Yeah, we don't care about your life story.
It's the party that taught me that public servants should serve the public.
If by the public you mean corporate donors.
Even when your opponents call you names like nasty or slow. And today, it's the party that calls us to stand up for what's right and to get in good trouble.
Yeah, we Democrats are for good things and against bad things.
So on behalf of this great party, it's my pleasure to welcome once again delegates, alternates, standing committee members, friends, and fellow Americans, members of the media.
Except the Young Turks. Progressives can just fuck off.
And guests from around the world. I now call this third session of the 48th Quadrennial National Convention of the Democratic Party to order. Now let's get this show started.
And now, live from Wisconsin, please welcome Governor Tony Evers.
Good evening, folks. I'm Tony Evers, and I'm incredibly proud to be the 46th governor of the great state of Wisconsin. We were really looking forward to having you here.
All right, we've heard this part twice before.
But what unites us is far, far greater than what divides us. So even though we can't be with each other, I know we have a shared sense of purpose. That is to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. This November is about returning kindness, respect, empathy, and civility back to the White House.
Still not done with the empty virtue signaling, are you?
And that's who Joe and Kamala are.
Kamala specifically is a slimy piece of shit, as we will see later.
Because they know, especially during challenging times like these, the problems we face can only be solved by all of us together. Holy mackerel, folks. Let's get to work.
Hello, my name is Terry Williams, and I've been a Republican for all of my adult life.
A lifelong Republican.
Are they recycling video clips from last time? Are these the only Republicans they could dig up?
We need a positive leader, someone who can work with both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats.
I don't think we can deal with the type of person we have in the White House any longer.
Vote, America. That's the only way to get out of this. And Joe Biden is just the person to ensure we get our lives back to normal.
Normal is not good enough. We need real solutions.
Joe Biden is a decent man with a long history of public service to America.
He will restore order and integrity to the executive branch.
I pledge allegiance to...
Y'all are indoctrinated idiots.
Hey everybody, it's me, Kamala. So before I go on stage later tonight, I want to talk about the importance of voting. I know many of you plan to vote this year, but amidst the excitement and enthusiasm for this election, you've also heard about obstacles and misinformation and folks making it harder for you to cast your ballot. So I think we need to ask ourselves, why don't they want us to vote? Why is there so much effort to silence our voices? And the answer is because when we vote, things change. When we vote, things get better.
Only when we vote for the right things, and the American people I don't trust to do that.
When we vote, we address the need for all people to be treated with dignity.
Blah, blah, voting is always good no matter who you vote for.
If you text VOTE to 30330, we'll help you come up with your plan and remember deadlines and get ready to vote in your community. So send that text and encourage your family and friends to send one too. Now let's enjoy another night of inspiration from around our country.
Why do I make myself do this?
Welcome to night 3 of the Democratic National Convention. I am honored to be joining you as we continue to celebrate this unconventional convention. We're going to be hearing a lot more from Senator Harris later, I promise. But first, when I was in 7th or 8th grade,
We don't care about your life story.
the first 15 words of our Constitution are, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union." We say more perfect because our union is not without flaws.
In fact, I'd go so far as to say that America is just one giant flaw, a blemish on the reputations of all other developed countries.
When our Constitution was written, women couldn't vote. Black people were considered 3/5 of a human being, but therein lies the work. No one is perfect. Nothing is, but it is the striving toward justice, equality, and truth that distinguishes us.
More virtue signaling.
Tonight, we are going to hear from so many phenomenal women.
The fact they have vaginas really matters.
The most important voice we hope to hear from tonight is the one we need to hear from most. It's yours.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Tonight, we're going to talk about where we are and where we're going on so many issues important to our future. 90% of Americans support common sense gun laws because we need to do more to address the epidemic of gun violence. Let's start there.
People affected by everyday gun violence have to walk by the street corner where their best friend, their brother, their mother, their nephew, where they themselves were shot. And life goes on and on as if we all haven't just watched a loved one die and get put in the grave. The whole point of what I'm saying here is until one of us or all of us stand up and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit by and watch the news treat these shootings like acts of God.
God doesn't exist.
Gun violence isn't just going to stop until there's a force fighting harder against it, and I'm going to do something to prevent it. They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS! They say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. We call BS!
Are you gonna provide statistics on this or what?
They say guns are just tools like knives. We call BS! They say that no laws could have been able to prevent the hundreds of senseless tragedies that have occurred. We call BS! That us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS!
What we're fighting for will happen because we're fighting so strongly for it. We're going to make this change.
Long before this pandemic, our country has been suffering from the epidemic of gun violence.
Gun violence is a public health crisis, one that disproportionately affects the Black and brown communities. First, it was my beloved fiance.
My son, Jerry, at the Pulse shooting in Orlando.
7 years later, it would be my son.
I know exactly the pain, the toll, the heartbreak of gun violence.
My freshman year, my high school went into lockdown because a kid brought a gun to school.
We've had to endure live shooter training drills on our schools.
High schoolers have enough to deal with. They shouldn't also be responsible for keeping themselves safe at school. That's the job of the government.
We have to end corporate lobbying by the NRA. We have to invest in mental health in our communities rather than making our schools maximum security prisons.
I want a president who will make gun violence prevention a top priority, and I believe Joe Biden is that person.
And now, mother and activist, Deandra Dykes.
In a split second, a stray bullet shattered my family's life.
Enough with the personal anecdotes. Provide the data. You have it, right?
In every town across America, there are families who know what a bullet can do.
I think everybody knows what a bullet can do.
That's why I'm a mom who volunteers to stop this. President Trump, he doesn't care. He didn't care about the victims after Parkland, Las Vegas, or El Paso. I want a president who cares about our pain and grief. A president who will take on the gun lobby to ban assault weapons and close the loopholes to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Joe Biden has taken on the NRA twice and won, and he will do it again as president.
I've looked in the eyes of too many parents, and I mean literally scores of them, who've lost their children to gun violence. I've looked in the eyes of brave young people who survived school shootings. And I made each of them a promise. I made myself a promise. I promised them, and I promise all of you, I will make this promise today. Those families hurting across the country, I will never, 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 never give up this fight.
Out of pain, we choose to find meaning. A glimmer of light that lands on a promise. Former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, shot in the head from less than 3 feet away. But she survived. When tragedy strikes, we seek comfort in knowing we aren't alone.
Join us in this fight.
We seek strength to keep fighting, to keep moving forward. We turn to leaders who share our pain.
What is this French horn here for?
We are a nation ready to end gun violence. A safer America is possible. But from this point forward, we must choose courage.
What does that mean?
We are at a crossroads.
Haven't heard that line before.
We can let the shooting continue, or we can act. We can protect our families, our future. We can vote. We can be on the right side of history.
Tonight, we're going to hear from many changemakers who are using their powers for good, who are working to confront the other epidemics we're facing: COVID-19, structural racism.
Gotta be more specific than that.
Police violence against black bodies.
Due in large part on the war on drugs, which Biden has not promised to end.
Violence against members of the trans community. We are facing so many challenges. To meet these challenges, we will need systematic solutions. We need leaders who can see us, hear us, represent us, all of us. To Joe Biden, nothing is more important than taking the time to make sure that people are seen, heard, and believed in.
Please stop with this #BelieveX line. It's far too easy for conservatives to strawman and attack.